So let's go over to the Super League. And Danielle, I want you to just kind of explain this to me of the Gainbridge move, where it looks like the Gainbridge is going to be the presenting sponsor of the USL Super League in the entire media plug or the media drop. They named every popular female athlete that you can imagine and just say we're associated with them, and I couldn't really pick out like the big deal, I guess.
Um, I am just getting some of the like high level overviews. I feel like I want to dig into this a little more because I didn't see a dollar amount like that was
Mhm.
attached to it either. So I want numbers. Tell me how much. And it could also be some sort of significant investment and partnership. But to name something and to have a significant company come alongside and say, we believe in you, we see your value and your growth and your potential, that's a significant partnership, and it continues to add to the credibility and the validity of the USL Super League, because I think there's a lot of people who haven't watched a game and don't understand this is Division One women's soccer. And let me tell you, we're pulling in top players um, from around the world with Colombians, and there are people from Croatia and the U.S. youth national team that are U.S. senior team bouncing, and so much amazingness is happening. And I really feel like right now it's low on everyone's radar. And this is just one of those things that lends credence that one, women's soccer is also a good investment. Like smart people are investing in it. It is not ownership shouldn't be a hobby. And yes, you can be passionate about it and think it's cool, but it can also be done very professionally and with care, similar to the way the players take their skills and ability every time they step on the pitch. You want to win. You don't just want to go out there and have fun with friends. And so I think this is really important, and this is a big stride, not just for the league, but for women's sports in general. Um, because a lot of other leagues and teams and different things happen and are supported that way. But to have the financial support and then also to financially support the players with some education and additional, um, probably financial and analysis and investment options, um, really is helpful, because most women don't make enough to retire on, and especially at a division 1 level, across any division 1 club level internationally, where you make your money is with your international contracts. And the fact that we've just had the first woman break $1 million for her contract this year, it shows just how far we still have to go, and this is one of those first steps. um, it's the first step towards leveling the playing field. And so I think that's really important, and that's what I'm taking from this. I think there's going to be a lot more, where they're investing in different things, but that may also be similar to the Michelle King investment of, we want to invest and we want to grow women's soccer, but we're going to work on what that looks like and where the needs are and sort of develop that, because needs this year may be different than needs next year.
Yeah, and it really goes a long way in just putting in more investment into the league and just further legitimizing the league within the kind of national landscape to get a title sponsor, to get a company like Gainbridge to come in, and someone who's been involved in other investments within sports. They've invested in NASCAR. They're investing heavily within Indiana athletics as well. And it's been hopefully it's going to be a move that just kind of raises the game for the USL Super League moving forward.
I can never say raise your game without just like internally face palming. It's like I can't. It's just a part of the vernacular. The biggest thing for me here is multi-year deal. That's what did it for me. And this is when I said, okay, things are trending in the right way. We don't have the access to the numbers of necessarily of attendance. We kind of get attendance numbers, but like who knows how real it is. We don't get the TV numbers. We don't see how much revenue is being pulled in. We don't see ad revenue, what Peacock is doing, right? We're not seeing any of that. But when USL presents this business pitch of you want to invest in us, and to be able to present a product that has not completed a full calendar year yet. They have not done a full season. They have not made it to the playoffs. None of that has happened yet. Getting a business that's pretty big. I mean, Gainbridge is a like sizable financial group, right? They are a notable name. Getting them to sign off on being on TV, in the stadium, on the jerseys, on social medias, putting their name on everything with the with the Super League for not just a year, multi-year. That means the Super League, not only like the championship, has presented multi-year ideas. A, that's a very big deal. B, another group has bought into the multi-year plan. There are plans for multiple years. There are things on the way. There's been a lot of US soccer, which is if we survive this first year, oh boy, are we going, right? We see it all the times, especially Danielle, you kind of mentioned taking those next step in women's soccer. We see it all the time in women's soccer. Think about the W League the first time. That did not last very long, right? The UWS, which I like a lot of the people that were with the UWS, but like they were struggling, right? They had a good idea and it's kind of petering out a bit. WPSL looks like they're making real deal waves right now, but it also feels like they're just trying to get the first year and see what happens. The Super League has presented multiple years of ideas. They have planned down the road enough to get somebody to say, we'll sign off on that. To me, that feels huge. To me, that feels like there's solidity. And where we have stability now in the Super League, right? That's what we want to see is just stability, because what's not going to grow women's soccer is another women's soccer league dying. That's not going to grow the game.
I'm going to share some stuff here that the other leagues didn't survive because you had misogynistic owners who were committing issues that violate most company HR policies of sexual harassment, sexual assault. When you view a team as your toy and plaything and they're just there to stroke your ego, nothing's going to survive.
No.
So I want to establish that league didn't survive because you had terrible ownership that didn't have a plan and just wanted a plaything. So there's a difference. The quality has been there since the early 90s. We as a country just said we are not going to care about you enough and we are not going to invest in you. And the fact that women's soccer is where it is without the support that the men's programs have had. So if you can imagine women's soccer getting the support that MLS has from US Soccer with the tens of millions of dollars, we would be having a very different conversation today. It also took MLS 25 years to grow to where they are. And USL Championship is still in the growing phases. And I think the USL Super League is coming out with a stronger plan, stronger stadiums, ownership group, clubs. I'm seeing that they're taking that infrastructure and they are moving leagues ahead of where some of these other groups are. I mean, the Super League is pulling in more attendance, even just on an eye view, than some USL Championship and probably most USL 1. So I know people are probably going to throw some comments and stuff, but if you look, even just take an eye test, there are games where I'll watch on TV that are USL Championship and you're just like, okay, empty stadium. Now we have many, many good clubs who have cultivated great communities over the years, but we can't build anything based on attendance because no one had attendance in their first 6 months of play. And I attended an MLS match in like the first few years, and it was like our A-League team in Rochester had more people than the MLS team. So I just want to throw that out so that we can have that common language and understanding of this is because they have good business sense in the USL Championship. And if you look at even some of their partners that the teams have, they have national and international brands that are high level, that they're doing a lot of the right things. And this is just another demonstration of that. I also want to say the Deloitte study just came out where interest and investment in women's soccer has grown like 200% by several $billions. And it's estimated to grow several more $billions in 2025 and 2026. So this is just good business sense and it's viable. So I just wanted to kind of like get us all at the same, because I also, as a woman, I'm sick of hearing these things haven't survived and we just needed to survive. And it's like, no, they're thriving. USL Super League is thriving, and I'm very impressed with them. So maybe I should have saved all of this for the end when I was allowed to have my like moment, but you're getting it now.
Hey, we'll take it whenever we can. That's why we bring you on. Because first off, you're intelligent, obviously, and like there's your as much I follow and I watch every week, but the main place I do get a lot of my information is the Super Show. Like I watch it, but like I learn from you guys, and that's why we want to talk. One thing that I also kind of want to just throw out there, you mentioned the attendance side of things. I have seen the where is everybody? Like what about attendance? What's going on here? And you see the Cotton Bowl. I mean, first off, the Cotton Bowl is huge. The fact that they have as good of an atmosphere as they do, with it being huge, crazy. But I'll also throw this out there. People want to compare what they see with the Barcelonas, the Chelsea's, sometimes the big women's teams. And I want you to look at the other side of that table. Go to the Barclays Super League and Super League, and see what's going on down there towards the bottom. They're playing in non-league stadiums, right? They're not pulling in that many people because in the end, a lot of people don't give women's soccer a chance. And I'm just going to say it because I see our analytics. People don't watch the Super League content because they haven't given it a chance. I promise you, if you watch the Super League, you're going to love it. Like, you just have to give it a chance. Does it look different than the men's game? Honestly, not as much as you think. The idea that it looks vastly different is decades old. Give it a chance today. You're going to be surprised. It's great.
So I have lovingly dubbed Amina Ekic for Spokane as our little Kevin De Bruyne, because she drops passes on a dime.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because let's get into our tactics show this week, which is about Ekic, believe it or not. So let's get into that. The Zephyr kicked off the scoring in a really interesting way versus Lexington. Circled on your screen is Sydney Cummings, who is acting as a pinner or a blocker for the Lexington goalkeeper. Her entire job is to make sure that the goalkeeper cannot cleanly collect the ball. But what they actually do here is have Cummings drop off, creating contrary motion where Cummings is going to the top of the 6-yard box while 3 players attack the top of it the other way. What this does is it creates a mismatch where we have 2 players attacking this ball. Meanwhile, there's only 1 Lexington defender to try to get there. This ball heads over and just kind of trickles over the line, and it's 1-0 for the Zephyr. Stuff like this is how the Zephyr have been able to claw their way back in to the USL Super League playoff chase. And I mean, she has been, I mean, it was kind of about Sydney Cummings and like kind of just dropping off, making stuff happen. But Ekich has been awesome. If hey, people of the Super League, please let me have another MVP vote for this half because Ekich is getting it right now.
Hey,
She's
I
the
want an MVP vote. How do I get MVP votes?
Lisa, please. But like Ekich is the best player in the league right now, and Spokane are the first team in the Super League that are really utilizing set pieces. They are creating so much chaos. Now, there have been a lot of goals via set piece, but they're the first ones that have really put time that I can see into really making a difference on the set piece. Ekich is the biggest part of that. The way she can just put in a curling ball, just this low driven curling ball anywhere she wants. She does it in the run of play. You mentioned that. And some people, and I always feels like this becomes an anti-Lexington pod. I promise it's not. I'm sorry, Lexington. But like it was Lexington. Yes. but Lexington wasn't playing too bad. They defended that decently. Like Lexington legitimately defended that well. It's just a nice, good driven cross, a good header. And that's a lot of the reason why we are seeing Spokane go up and up and up and up and up. Where we have Tampa Bay, we have Fort Lauderdale, and we have Spokane battling it out for this final playoff spot. And it's close. Like we are all jumbled up right now. And it's fun. This is just so much fun to follow along with.
Yeah, I mean, between Tampa Bay in third right now and Spokane down in sixth, that's a 5-point gap between that with at least games in hands for Fort Lauderdale as well. So it's going to be a very exciting finish to this spring half of the year for those. But basically, the two final playoff spots, Carolina and Dallas, are doing very well currently in the top two portions of the league. Carolina with 5 wins in a row right now.
This is an exciting playoff race, and I love the parity in the league for most of the teams. And even I think DC United is going to play spoiler to someone's run for the table because every point matters, and I feel like they're going to steal a few points, whether it's through a tie or beating someone. So I think Spokane's really hitting their stride and coming together and building that chemistry at just the right time. And they added a few players over the break that I think just solidified everything on the team. And I think Ekich is now feeling confident where she's just hitting everything. So it's just good soccer to watch. It's good tactics. It's good athleticism. It's good individual skill as well. So the technique, I mean, you're seeing people meg people, you're seeing people cut around everybody. And the leaderboard is not what it was at the break. And that was one of the things I said on the Super Show. I said, this is not going to end where it started. In Brooklyn was at the top. They were number 1 and they've now fallen to number 5. So out of that playoff contention. So I think things are heating up and this is the right time to become a Super League fan.
I think that on the USL show, we started hitting the panic button on Brooklyn around the 3rd week of the spring schedule, where we were like, something's off here. Something's really off. And last week we talked about, they fired their coach just last week. Where, Danielle, I don't know how you feel, and Ryan, I don't know how you feel, but Brooklyn's not in this playoff race for me anymore. Until they can show me that they can win. They get a 1-1 draw versus Brooklyn, versus Lexington. By the way, if you did not watch that match, when Brooklyn scored, that atmosphere was nuts. That place was like going insane. Awesome to see. But until Brooklyn can show me 3 points, a draw versus Lexington is not enough for me to say maybe they're clawing their way back. Like they were doing decent stuff. They were going up and down the wings. They were doing what they've been doing all year long, but they are just nothing in the middle right now. And Brooklyn's not even a part of this race to me anymore. I don't know how you guys feel.
One of my concerns was at the any team that loses a coach and gets a new coach, whether it's like internal or just interim, half the time they've had like 1 day or 2 days with the team. You usually have the little new coach bump. Like, hey, I'm excited, I'm motivated, we're going to play freely. They did not have that, and instead they tied Lexington 1-1. And so to me, that really concerned me that maybe Jessica Silva wasn't a big part of it. My other concern was, what was the investment from Brooklyn FC in the break? I mean, other teams were making money moves, and I was just concerned that Brooklyn just kind of skated through. I think they got 2 new players, but I think that was after the season started, for the second half of the season, and it was almost a little too late. So I am concerned that there may be more to this than just Jess Silva, but I also think she got you to the top of the table for the first half of the season. And while this is your expansion year, like, figure it out, let it ride for 5 more games, like, reward her for what she did with nothing, and getting here and doing all of that. So I have mixed feelings. I understand why, but I also want, I was like, just let it ride. Like, it's too late in the season. Like, you're already at this point. And especially if they don't bounce back, then it'll be like, oh yeah, there was no reason. So I do hope someone else picks her up. So I hope maybe Jacksonville. No, they just already hired their new coach. So maybe there's another team in the wings, and they'll hire her.
This is an interesting question in the chat. Is Ekic the Bamadi of the Super League? That's a fun one.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't watch Barcelona. And I was at the final for the Women's World Cup and couldn't read anyone's back. But to me, it was De Bruyne, because not necessarily her individual footwork on the ball, more for her long distance passing and crossing the field and crosses in. Sorry, I watched Prime De Bruyne, and that was sort of my point of reference. But
Yeah,
I mean, she could. I just think Bonmati has a little bit more like of the individual foot skills, although we just may not see. We need a few more cameras to see Ekic's footwork.
I wanted to hit the Dallas Trinity match where they go 1-1 with Fort Lauderdale, which might be the worst outcome that you could have had for Fort Lauderdale. Here, obviously, a loss would have been worse, but when you're in this playoff race, you're running out of matches. Like, you needed a win. Dallas more than happy to take a point out of this. Obviously, you want to win, but you will happily take a point out of this match. What say you, Danielle?
Considering the fact that Dallas's little general in Lexi Missimo is out for the rest of the season, and you don't have that strong player in the center midfield for Dallas, and you're sort of reconfiguring everything, I'm okay with a tie, especially against a strong, talented Fort Lauderdale who's got some depth. I am okay with this. Do I love it and would rather see 3 points? Yes, but it still keeps my beloved Dallas Trinity in second place. So I'm not angry with it, and I think they're both extremely talented teams with skillful, knowledgeable players, and so I think it really that's a fair score for both of